Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Followers of this show here on cleveland.com and my radio gig know that I'm an unabashed lover of the game of baseball. Some of the things that you hate could be things that I love. I hear you say 162 games is way too much. I think it's the perfect number. It gives you the ability to watch Tyler Naquin botch 2 bunt attempts in the past 5 games, then mess up a fly ball short of the fence, which would have ended last night's game against Boston even before Carlos-Santana hit a walk-off home run. Oh yeah, in those 5 games, Naquin also hit a couple of home runs and made a sensational play with a cutoff throw to Francisco Lindor on a game-saving play at the plate against the Minnesota Twins. You all have heard that baseball is a marathon, it's not a sprint. If you follow a team like we follow the Indians, it's also great soap opera. You go from Max Moroff to Brad Miller to Eric Stamets and Carlos Gonzalez and then Hanley Ramirez, and you then go to Franmil-Reyes and Yasiel-Puig, let alone dealing with Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Corey Kluber, and All-Star MVP Shane Bieber. What Hollywood producer would ever buy this script? Bud Shaw is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine on a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into its 23rd, sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be 24th season exclusively on cleveland.com. Bud Shaw from WKYC is with us, and I told you the Indians would easily take over the Minnesota Twins place in first place in the division.
That's true. You were saying that back in April.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you weren't.
Okay.
May. No, you weren't.
Was it
June?
Was it June? Well, what do you think now?
I think they're the better team right now. I think
Right.
they're hitting Minnesota at a time when Minnesota has lost some people in their lineup, and I'm not saying that's an excuse for what's happened. It's just they're taking advantage of
Right.
the situation the way Minnesota did earlier when the Indians had more than their share of injuries.
Well, all right, injuries are all part of it, but also Minnesota for the next couple of weeks has an easier schedule on the way. So if the Indians can hang in there at that point, it looks then the stiffs come to Cleveland.
Here's the
after
thing:
that.
when we looked at this chunk of schedule for the Indians, we said they don't play a winning team or a losing team until they face the Mets on the 18th of August.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it turns out now the Mets might not be any treat for them, right? The Mets are playing really well. Some of the teams that they've run into are not playing as well, but I think we can kind of put that behind us. The way the Indians are playing right now, I don't think it really matters whether they're playing teams that are winning teams or not. They're good enough to win series against anybody right now.
What do you think of the fact they have, this is unusual, that they'll have 6 consecutive games in New York, 3 against the Yankees, then a day off, then 3 against the Mets? New York is a dangerous place to be if you're trying to concentrate on baseball.
Yeah, it could be. I think these guys, I think these guys have their priorities straight, and I think they're just getting that little taste now of October because they're a half a game ahead. I would hope that that's going to be the focus. I think it will be.
Isn't it interesting that we have seen Yasiel-Puig with the Dodgers, then the Cincinnati Reds, and now the Indians? When you think of him, because you don't see him every day, you think of this tough guy, this guy who's only out for himself and all that. Number one, we haven't seen any temper problem. Not to say we won't, but so far we haven't. And number two, he's got a great arm in no particular order. But number 3, he looks like he's really a good fundamental baseball player, which I don't think all of us thought was the case.
Yeah, I thought early on in his career that was more of a situation where he didn't always run out ground balls.
Right.
He wasn't always hustling. In fact, he admitted that he took games off sometimes when in the final season with the Dodgers. I think they're getting him at exactly the right time. He's motivated by a contract, being in a contract year.
Do you have an idea what that number would be? Let's say he finishes out very well as he's been playing now. What are we talking about? I mean, 5 years, $150 million?
I don't know if he's that kind of player. Do you?
Well, he may think so.
He may think so. That's for sure. it's hard for me to imagine him being a $30 million a year player given his track record. And that's not to say he's not a good player and doesn't have all the tools.
No, but he's a good player on this team at this time.
Yeah.
In that position.
I think teams would be reluctant to give him that kind of a long-term deal for that kind of money.
Right. So, well, what do? Dangle it out there so I mean, this is a good lure right now that he knows. You know, Francona said it himself when they got him. They said expect the best two or 3 months of his career.
Yeah.
Do you think he needs that?
I think everybody involved knows that this is a short-term thing.
Right.
I don't think the Indians have any delusions about whether they'll try to keep him, be able to keep him, and I think he's not going to stay here for the kind of money that it would be a hometown discount by a guy who's only been in town for 2 months. It's not likely to happen.
All right, so what I said before, the length of the baseball season, which some people complain about, when you hear the names that I threw out there, Max Maroff and Stamets, and I even forgot Brad Miller. He's the one who said the Indians don't want good ball players.
Yeah,
there, right?
Yeah.
There's a quote for your book.
Yeah, I think I can't remember if we did this a week ago, but I saw it somewhere where you look at the starting lineup, opening day lineup versus the one that they have right now, and it's pretty startling.
Yeah, Cargo and Hanley.
Which leads me to my ad lib opening comment.
Go ahead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here with an ad lib opening comment.
I'm going to
written clearly on the wall. Here's Bud Shaw.
I'm going to make it up as I go.
Okay.
So now it's the Indians' division to lose, and all I can say is, who'd have thunk it? There may come a time that fans will wish they had Trevor Bauer on the mound in a big game, at which time I'd suggest they sit down and give it a little more thought. In the 3-game sweep by the Astros last year, the Indians scored just a handful of runs. I believe Houston outscored them something like 23-5. In the final 3 losses to the Yankees in 2017, the Indians scored a handful of runs. This front office recognized the, quote, anything can happen in the postseason, end quote, theory for what it was, wishful thinking. They instead decided to make something good happen in the postseason by adding Yasiel-Puig and franmil-reyes to an offense that was getting good mileage but didn't have the power required to beat the best in the American League. I think now the Indians do. And now the next 2+ months should be quite a ride.
Okay, you didn't mention the guy's name, Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez. This guy, I mean, there's so many things that put the Indians in this position. You got Oscar Mercado when you put him in the second hole. You couldn't ask for a better fit at this point. Then you wind up at the trade deadline. You get those 2 guys, Yasiel-Puig and Reyes. And then you also have the steadiest guy of all this year in Carlos-Santana, who has been absolutely incredible after what most people would say was a bad year in Philadelphia.
But I think that instead of going into the postseason hoping that guys like Mercado, Roberto Perez, if you want to throw Naquin into that or Luplo or whoever, hoping that those guys would shine when the pressure was on, I think they've kind of taken that element out of it now, that element of chance, where you still need those guys, but right now you're going to depend on Puig, you're going to depend on Ramirez and Lindor and Santana, and I think that's a pretty good group to beat.
I think Lindor is even getting better now because he knows what the team is. I think now that he doesn't have to carry them, I think he knows.
I don't think there were a lot of weepy guys in the clubhouse when Bauer left, and I don't mean that they didn't like him at all, but I just think they were finished with that drama.
Right.
When something like that happens the way it happened in Kansas City, I think what drives the other guys on the team crazy is that when fans go, see the passion he has for baseball, see how ultra competitive he is.
No, he's
everybody
insane.
should be that way. Well, everybody is that way. As I said, you don't do what Bieber has done this season without being ultra competitive and without being a really passionate guy about his craft. So that's nonsense that Trevor Bauer has these displays that have to prove to people that he's, have to show people that he really cares.
All right. Let's jump ahead because things are going too well. We don't know how to handle it when it's going well here.
Tonight on our show?
Yeah. What's now happened next year is March 26th will be the opening day in Cleveland against Detroit. Well, it doesn't matter who it's against. Well, the only thing worse is if it was Texas or Arizona, somebody like that. So the first 5 games starting on the 26th, and coincidentally, now nobody would have noticed this, would have done anything to change. The 26th of March is the only time that LeBron James will be in Cleveland as a member of the Lakers. So get plenty of good seats available.
Well, you could do both, right?
Sure, it's an afternoon
Afternoon game, although it's usually what, is it a 4 o'clock game usually on opening day?
Well, they'd have to move it.
I would
think they would move
I
it.
heard this discussion on radio today. Which one would you go to? I would pick the one that's going to be played indoors. That would be my only criteria for March 26th.
Wow.
And if they can somehow find a way to open the baseball season indoors here, I would go to that too.
Well, where would you have it?
I know you can't, but I don't understand the schedule. It's been explained to me a number of times that the warm weather cities don't want all of those home games in March and April before school's out for reasons that we all know are obvious.
Right.
But it's still kind of hard to imagine that you have a schedule where you open in Cleveland in March and you spend the next 6 days or 7 days playing AL Central teams.
Right.
In
the big
cold
draw
weather.
that they are.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. You know, if it's going to be that way, and it is, name the over/under date on when we first get the national report that the attendance is down in Cleveland.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the same.
You can't sell tickets. Well, you'll sell it for opening day, but you can't really sell it for the rest of April and into May. Because would you agree that since I don't know the end of May that they've drawn very well?
Sure. Yeah, I think they felt they were a little bit light on this Boston series because I saw a couple of their executives on Twitter kind of reminding people of what a great chase that they've had of the Twins and that please come out and support us.
Well,
so
you know
I
how
think
I
they
feel
ended up
about
getting
that.
like 23 or 24,000 for that game last night.
Well, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
All right,
it's against a good, not a good Boston team, but a recognizable Boston team.
All right, so they take exception when I do this. I may as well do it again.
Why do you do this so often?
Because now they're trying to get me to see why they're correct. What they do is they sell dollar dogs, $2 draft beer or regular beer, $15 in the corner and all that. And they don't, by the way, mention that, I don't know, Mike Trout is coming or the Houston Astros with Michael Brantley. They don't tell you that. They just, how hard would it be for 2 seconds to say in the commercials or to just pop on the screen and say, Mike Trout, Los Angeles Angels this weekend?
Well, maybe they're afraid, and I don't know if they've said this, that if they promote something like that and then the guy sits out, that people say, oh, look
everybody
at you
understands that.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, how about this? Does everybody understand who they are playing? Like, can't people look at the schedule and know who the games are against?
Well, then why bother? Well, then just do 30 seconds of cleveland-indian.com and let people go. I mean, if you're showing highlights and you're showing fans cheering, no, I wouldn't expect them to go to the website to see who they're playing.
Okay.
But you can explore your interest and find a program at Tri-C that'll put you on the path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tric.edu for more information. We'll come on back in a moment. Facebook is where you can go to find us, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. Yeah, I expect people to go to the screen on this one so you know where you're going.
Of course.
New content is posted each and every day. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's check out birthdays for today. Jim Mudcat Grant, born in 1935. Margin for error, 1947. Andre Thornton, look at him on the left in the tomato can uniform. Tom DeLeon, center for Ohio State and Cleveland Browns, passed away a couple of years ago. Jay Buhner, of course, he was part of the big trade in Seinfeld, right?
That's right.
They didn't trade Buhner. DeMarcus Cousins, all born on this date, August 13th. How come deer know where to cross? Bud, that's quick. Follows all the rules.
That is a very quick.
It's a sort of a quintessential how come quick. Yasiel-Puig was suspended for a job done in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
For the Cincinnati Reds. So he's accepted the penalty. Now, he'll lose money. I wonder if it's the Indians who lose the money or the Cincinnati Reds.
What do you mean he'll lose money?
He'll lose money, so it's subtracted from his contract. So it happened when he was with the Reds.
Like who gets to not
gets the benefit? Yeah.
That's a good one. I would assume it's the Cincinnati Reds.
Well,
right?
I would think
the
so.
The suspension happened while he was still in their uniform.
Yes.
So I would think that's
that could be cash considerations or something
yeah.
in the trade. So what do you think? Was he given a certain date that he had to make a decision on whether he's going to challenge it or not? Or do you think the Indians said, you know what, Yasiel, just go ahead and take it. We can handle the Red Sox without you?
I think there's just when you repeal it and the appeal gets turned down, you serve it. And I think if the Indians did have anything to say about it, I think they were wise in saying, you missed these 3 games against a reeling Red Sox team. And we're going to need you more in New York.
Yeah, this portion of More Sports and Les-Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct with 3 locations. West 130th Street, that's in Cleveland, and the old B&B appliance store on Lakeland Boulevard in East Lake and Freeway Drive. That's the new one in Macedonia.
Can I say something about, and I don't do this, this isn't a shameless plug.
Okay.
But I like to mention when I actually use the services of your advertisers. Yeah. And I have a kitchen redo from Northeast Factory Direct. Right. I've got patio furniture from Northeast Factory Direct. I've bought there several times and been very happy with it. And I went to Sokolowski's site. Like, hey, how many of these can I? The only thing I haven't done is go to Presque Isle, and I'm working on that.
You're working on that. So I'm guessing you would not have brought that up if you were unhappy with their service.
Exactly, in both cases.
Yeah.
So.
All right, terrific. We are so proud to have them as part of this show because I've always said that in Northeast Ohio, they have the best advertising campaign of anybody, maybe in history. Northeast Factory Direct. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. So we have a Facebook question of the day. I think it's interesting. You don't. If you were a Boston fan, would you be satisfied with a 1-year playoff drought after a 5-year after a World Series win? Now, keep in mind, Boston's different than everybody else because they win everything. So let's just take any team. Would you take the championship last year and then be faced with 5, 6, 7 years of what Boston Red Sox have right now?
Well, I think that is specific to market. In a market like Boston, I don't think they would make that trade because they expect that team to spend big every year. So they would feel like, oh yeah, you want a championship? What have you done for us lately, huh? It's 4 years since you've been in the playoffs.
You know,
I know your point, I think, is that had the Dolans, especially the Dolans, who are under criticism for not spending and being cheap, had they won in 2016,
there people would be plenty of time.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how many years.
I don't know if it was 5. I mean, maybe by the end of 3 or 4, people would be saying, "Now what?"
Yeah.
But clearly, they could have won bought a lot of time had that.
We're going to check the answers here in a minute, or the responses. But so, would you assume when they print those little small schedules for their sports, they already put the date for the parade or the the boats. What do they call those in Boston?
The boats?
The boats that they travel around in.
Oh.
I can't think of the word. You know, the boats.
The boats?
The thing I was on when I was in Boston. You remember that. All right, so
float?
Andy Meese says they should be satisfied. The city of Boston always seems to have a couple of major league sports teams that's relevant, and in the playoffs playing for a championship. That sports town has been spoiled as much as any other city. I'd take that in Cleveland.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
think
people would
you're
take
right.
that in Cleveland.
It's where it is. Lawrence C. Butler says, no, they left them. What does he know? They left themselves without a closer and questionable starting pitching. What happened to Sale? They will bounce back next year. Well, that wasn't the question, but he's probably correct.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to tell him if you ever run into that guy
Right.
to answer the question.
Right. That's the question we ask. Don't make up answers. I mean, Bobby Knight in that Jeremy Schaap interview, he had 1 hour. He knew how to just BS his way through 45 minutes so they couldn't ask regular questions. Michael Soralo says, I can imagine a lot, but I can't imagine myself a spoiled Bostonian. Eric Huber says, not with the money they've spent. And Dennis Davis says, yeah, I'd be all right with it.
Yeah. I think in Cleveland you would be all right with it just because it's been such a long chase now. I mean, we're talking how many years?
In Cleveland?
71?
Well, since 1948.
So I think
That's a
if you
lot.
told people after 71 years of not winning a World Series that they could win one and not win one for the next 5,
let me
they'd
tell
be
you
like,
something. Well, yeah, baby. No question about that. They just would have trouble understanding the question or the statement of
but
it.
enough about Lawrence Butler.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, so the Indians have a half-game lead over Minnesota. And somebody complained. Who was here last night? That was Terry Pluto was here. And we were it wasn't Terry. It was Andy Baskin when I did 92.3 The Fan. He was complaining that the Indians and Twins now have changed things over so their uniforms all their color schemes are exactly
And
the
that's
same.
his complaint
Yeah,
over this last month and a half of unbelievably good baseball?
Even though he knew it was the top of the inning or the bottom of the inning, he wasn't sure which team was batting. And by the way, STO does a good job with this, but there are some of them like Fox Sports 1. Don't they give you too much information on the balls and strikes and the box score?
I don't know what it is with you. Sometimes you want more information about who the Indians are playing and the players on the other team, and other times you don't want any information.
I respect you as much or maybe more than anybody in this town, but don't you have a situation where you're trying to baseball wants the kids, right? Well, no, they want the drinkers at the corner.
They
but
want
after
younger,
that, then
they
want
younger demographic.
Okay, do you think if I told you a guy hit 300, he had 100 RBIs and 37 home runs, you'd know what that meant, right?
I'd want to know what his wins above replacement
Okay,
is.
so do you think they're going to get the young kids and say, you need to learn launch angles and WAR, wins above replacement, and all these other things? Do you think that's going to bring young kids instead of saying, the guy's hitting 306?
I don't know. I mean, I doubt that in Little League Baseball they're talking to kids about launch angles and stuff like that. So averages and RBI and things like that still mean something down there.
When I was in Little League, by the time I got to first base on a ringing single to right center, I knew my batting average already.
Well, and as a pitcher, I didn't know what the launch angle was, but I knew a
But
home
you knew
run.
there was
I knew
one.
a home run when I saw it.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. I just mentioned Northeast Factory Direct. I want to tell you about them with the 3 great locations. You see them there. West 140th Street, as well as Lakeland Boulevard, the new one in Macedonia, that's on Freeway Drive. They've got everything you need at prices you're not going to believe. They've got sofas and sectional, as well as theater seating, bedroom sets, mattresses, kitchen tables, dining room sets, hot tubs, pool tables, you name it, they got it. Kitchen cabinets, same stuff, if not nicer than you're going to find at the big, expensive retail stores, except for one thing. They don't charge you for as much as the big stores do. They purchase in volume and pass all the savings on to you. And Alex reloads this high-quality stuff in a big old warehouse instead of a fancy retail store. His rent's about 1/10 of the big furniture stores. And again, he's going to make you save a lot of money when you do that. Check him out at any of those locations, as well as northeastfactory.com. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Live racing coming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Post time is 6 p.m. for that, although they open early every day for simulcast action from all over the world. The weekly Sunday contest gives you a top prize of $500 cash per week. It's free admission, free parking every day. at Northfield Park. When we come back, I love this name for a football player.
What is that?
Mack-Wilson. Doesn't he sound like a tough guy?
Yeah. Only better if his name was like Mack.
Mack the Truck Wilson?
T-R-U-K.
Mack Truck Wilson.
I love it.
I love it too.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he's
like a truck out there.
He has made some unbelievable plays. He's a very athletic linebacker.
Intercepted a pass, a pick six, which all the kids know. They all know what that means.
They do?
Yeah, we don't have to use batting averages and stuff like that. We'll hear from Mack-Wilson when we get back. Bud Shaw with us. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of August and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
I picked up on, the speed of the game, learning my plays as well. And like I said, the interceptions just come when you're doing your job. And I feel like, I'd be in great position when the ball gets thrown. I'd be able to break on it and make a play. Or either I'm running to the ball and a tip ball happens and I'm able to catch it. So I just try my best to do my job and make sure that everybody else is lined up around me and making sure that we can execute.
Going back to Takitaki, what's something that Coach Holcomb has kind of challenged him to work on? Obviously he's good at finding the ball, tracking the ball, but what's something that he's challenged him to work on in camp?
Coach Holcomb and Coach Wilkes, they put in a new defensive scheme, so he kind of challenged all the linebackers to try to be consistent. They throw a lot at us with the plays and things, and all of us just now learning and things. So it's just all about just trying to be consistent, staying in your playbook, because like I said, all of us is new to it. The vets just got a month time ahead of us on the playbook, so they kind of comfortable with it, and the younger guys kind of just getting comfortable with it. So he kind of just challenged all of us, just to be consistent, play fast, play downhill, be physical. And, he want everybody to kind of try to learn all three linebacker spots because, you never know what can happen.
Have you and Takitaki been talking just about, learning the new playbook and just bouncing things off of each other?
Yeah, every night, we'll just talk about how practice went, some things that we messed up on, try to correct them. We'll watch film together and just kind of go from there. We just try to make sure that both of us are on our stuff and make sure that both of us as crisp as we can be.
There you go, Mack-Wilson. 2 interceptions in that game the other night, including one for a touchdown.
Yeah.
With the offense on this team, if the defense can just if they can just get the offense back on the field, that's number one, and give them field position, that could be part of the success.
I was surprised when they opened up in the no huddle, the hurry up.
And told Washington.
Well, now we learned later that they supposedly tipped them off, but I don't think Washington then said, okay, we're going to play our 2-minute defense then.
No, they did whatever.
They just did what they were going to do.
Yeah.
They did what they were going to do. So I fully expect these guys to be prolific offensively when the season starts. But this notion that, boy, Washington knew it was coming and still couldn't stop it, I think we need to see regular season football before we make those.
And if they did that without telling them, it wouldn't have been that much difference.
No, but I do think it's like a gentleman's agreement that you don't, like, remember that year when the Giants had played poorly the week before and got ripped all week in practice and came in here and they were blitzing.
Right.
They just made I think the Browns lost a couple of players to injury in the first game or second game. And teams don't usually do that to each other. They keep things fairly vanilla.
Right.
And they just try to run some plays. And they don't want to show too much anyway.
Right.
So.
All right, speaking of playing at vanilla, the Browns on the way right now to Indianapolis, taking on the Colts, and they're not really taking them on. Do you believe in these co-op practices?
I think they could be helpful. If Myles Garrett beats the offensive line the way he's been beating the Browns' offensive line, he's still not going to be allowed to tackle the quarterback in these controlled scrimmages. So there is some control in these scrimmages, even though they're a higher intensity than practice, even though fistfights sometimes break out. I think it's still, Freddie probably still feels pretty good about not losing players in this thing.
And he doesn't see, except for a couple of guys, he almost doesn't care. He's going to throw them out there. If they get hurt, they get hurt.
Well, who's that? Who would you say that is?
I think that...
I think their offensive line is the one that I would be watching through the rest of camp, because I don't think they can afford to lose anybody there.
Well, so you're saying they shouldn't play much?
No, I think, again, you can't put these guys in a bubble, but I do think that if they suffer an injury there, it's
right. Well,
it could happen in practice.
They're also pretty weak as a group anyway, 1 through 5, let alone 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, the right guard position, I debated this with Ben Axelrod at Channel 3 the other night after that game. And he asked, is the concern more about right guard or is it about the offensive line? And at the time I thought it was right guard. But, I listened to Ross Tucker today and suggest that, that Greg Robinson hasn't really proven a whole lot. He's had 1 year basically that he's started to live up to where he was drafted at number 2, was it, or number 3 overall. Right. So, I mean, he's your starting left tackle, and I'm not sure that he's answered all the questions about him.
No, he hasn't,
but then
you
have the right guard situation that's a little bit iffy.
All right, so how many teams across the board have 6, 7 good guys? Probably not many.
Yeah, probably not that many.
So,
but that's the one area I think that if it breaks down, fortunately you have a quarterback who has shown he can move when he feels pressure and bide time and still look downfield and make plays.
Right.
So he's going to be able to cover up some of the mistakes on the offensive line or some of the weaknesses, I think.
All right, Andrew Luck will not play in the scrimmage. Would you play Baker-Mayfield?
Yeah, I would. I would play him a little bit, and I would play the first team offense a little bit too. I know some people don't want these guys to be exposed to anything throughout the whole preseason, and I guess I get it. They're more talented now than they've ever been. Lack of talent was why they've gotten off to such poor starts every season.
I think that the fans they still remember LaCharles Bentley, and I think that sticks with them.
But you can get hurt. That's a good. You can get hurt in practice,
right?
So you have to practice, don't you? Don't we all agree that you have to use these guys in practice to some point?
Practice.
So that can happen. I think the Steelers lost a pass rusher to a knee injury last week. I can't remember his name because I'm old. So these things could happen. It's just you try to control as much as you can, and I think they've been pretty good about that.
All right, the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame will open its doors to 6 new members coming up on September 18th. That's a Wednesday night at Landerhaven. You've got Otis Chapman from racquetball, John Malloy hockey, talking to Andy Baskin about him. Tony Miller, you know him, a couple of different sports, including basketball and football. And continue on with Tom Lucci in tennis, and Urban Meyer will be honored. And Rob Moss also. Tickets available at 216-241-1919, 216-241-1919, or go to admin@clevelandsportshall.com. Again, it's Wednesday night, September 18th. Get ticket information at those 2 locations. We have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call anytime. You can call while we're on the air, although I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but you can talk to us on the air. Call anytime, leave us a message, 216-200-6650, and we'll use the messages on future shows. When we come back, we'll look at the second unofficial depth chart. Freddie-Kitchens doesn't believe in depth charts, but he's got one. I guess the league says you better do that. We'll come back in a moment with Bud Shaw exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
I think the situations are a little different. I just think this staff, we want him to maybe have to earn it versus with Denzel last year. He kind of proved early that he belonged, and I think with Greedy just kind of bringing him along a little slower. But at some point, again, he's a good football player, and he's going to help our team.
By circumstances being different, you got more players back there this year than you did a year ago. Is that kind of what you
Yeah, that always helps, yes, yes.
There was no Denzel a year ago.
That's right, that's right.
With Greedy, I mean, you talked about the tackling early, and I know you said you saw it on film, but was it nice to see him not be afraid to do that? And we've seen it in practice, we saw it again in the game, that he'll come up to the line and stick his nose in there.
No question. I mean, it's hard in practice because you don't get a lot of live reps. So it's nice to see in a live setting, because all you want to see is a guy willing, because we call guys, is he a willing tackler? So I think he proved that he's willing, so he'll continue to get better and better.
What do you think it was that was getting, he had that reputation with the tackling thing. What do you think it was with him that was maybe getting in the way, or was that just a myth, do you think?
Well, obviously on some of his college tape, there were times that he didn't tackle, and I just think maybe some people that evaluated him didn't want to let that go. For me, I guess I looked the other way. I've seen him tackle on tape, so to me, I just felt like we just got to get him to do it on a consistent basis. So hopefully this is a good start for him.
Was there anything getting in the way of that, do you think, for him in particular?
I don't think so. You know, I think tackling is a mindset. So I think that's something that I know he wanted to prove, and he continues to want to prove that that's not a weakness in his game.
Well, there you go. You got Dwayne Walker talking about Greedy Williams and others. This segment brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct with 3 great locations, East Side, West Side, and South Side. The reactions to any comments about Greedy Williams? I just think they're trying to make him work maybe harder than he thought he'd have to work.
Yeah, I mean, he lasted into the second round, right?
Yep.
And one of the if you see him out on the practice field, you understand he's slightly built.
That's
he's
fair.
kind of a tall,
rangy,
thin guy,
yeah.
And I don't know whether Deion Sanders was ever considered a willing tackler. I don't think he was.
No.
But he certainly
would
was
get in the way, though.
Great cover guy. And
yeah.
if
That's two
Greedy
different
Williams,
things.
if the crux of what he does at that position is intercept balls and knock them down, I don't think anybody will be talking about his tackling.
They knew what they were getting into.
Sure.
By the
and
way,
he'll get better. He's right. I mean, Dwayne Walker's right that if he's willing, if he's okay about, he's not trying to get out of the way of a running back or wide receiver, that's half the battle.
By the way, Chris Fedor, who of course covers the Cavaliers for cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer will join us in the next segment. We'll talk about the Cavaliers for a couple of moments. But the second unofficial depth chart is out, and I don't think there's names. Well, there's some names even good fans are not aware of. And there you see the offensive starters of Baker-Mayfield and Nick-Chubb, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and David Njoku. Second team, Drew Stanton, the quarterback, Kareem-Hunt. Jalen Strong is a wide receiver, Rashad Higgins, who should get plenty of action, and Demetrius Harris. On the second team, quarterback Garrett Gilbert leads the third team. And there you see the rest of it. Farrell Brown from Brush High School, hoping to hang on and become the first ARC to ever play in the NFL.
Is that right? No one from your high school has ever played in the NFL?
No, in the NFL a couple have had, but
not in Cleveland.
Not for the Cleveland Browns. So there you have it. Any surprises there? Anything that you see?
No, I mean, I think those guys, when you look at wide receiver now, of course, you don't see the name Antonio Callaway because he's going to be suspended. And I think we all felt that Higgins had moved into the third spot in that order, in that pecking order. So Callaway was probably fourth, but they have a couple of guys that I think could fill in quite nicely here.
You think Giuseppe will find a spot?
That's going to be a tough one. I know it's going to be very unpopular if they have to cut him, but it's going to be a tough one. And his chances are a little better now after the Callaway thing.
Well, do you think somebody takes a shot on him if the Browns don't?
Somebody might be just looking for a punt returner, sure, if they have somebody they were counting on.
All right, here's the depth chart for the offensive line. You see Robinson, Batonio, Treader, as well as Cush and Chris Hubbard. And you see the rest in the middle. Austin Corbett shouldn't be there, should be in the top in the beginning, but he's not. Starters, Drew Forbes and Kyle Kalis out of St. Ed's on that list. Had a concussion the other night. I think he's going to be okay, but maybe they'll sit him out. The 4 o'clock game against the Indianapolis Colts. If you need furniture and you want some really nice stuff, I'll tell you all about it in a moment. Miles Garrett, the starter, Larry Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson, Olivier Vernon, the first team, zettel, as well as Carl Davis, Trayvon Coley, and Chris Smith. I wish you a Merry Christmas, but
very nice.
Although it's early.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Wyatt Ray, Dedrick Young III, and Ray Armstrong. There you see the starter at the linebacker. You've got Kirksey and Schobert as well as Avery. Then you got mack-Wilson, Takitaki, Adarius Taylor, followed by Harvey Young and Armstrong.
You know, I don't think it'll be long before Wilson and Takitaki are being talked about.
Think you can have them both starters? Both
Excuse me.
Both freshmen, both
I
rookies?
almost sneezed. Yeah, I don't know that he would start them both at the same time, and I don't suspect it's going to be in the first month of the season. But I think they've both shown enough to know that that's their ceiling.
All right, here you go with the defensive backs, Denzel Ward, Terrence Mitchell. They got a lot of players here. Demarius Randall, Morgan Burnett, T.J. Carey, Greedy Williams, Eric Murray, and Jermaine Whitehead. And you see Lindsey Pipkins from the King of Comedy movie. Do you remember that?
I do.
And here's the special teams. Britton Colquitt right now is the kicker, but you've got the Scottish Hammer, Jamie Gillan next. Greg Joseph has a little bit of a lead right now, but Seibert was the 5th-round pick, so I don't know how that's going to come down. Dontrell Hilliard, the returner, both place kicks and punt returns. And then you see Dearness Johnson is second in that, and there you see the rest of it with
you know, I haven't done the numbers on it yet because, frankly, it's way too early. And they're going to, even as they cut people, they're going to be adding people from other teams. And so it's really hard to tell. It's just.
So even if the guy's the third stringer, he's going to say, yeah, but there's no guarantee.
He's such a great story, you know, and you'd love to see him make it, but boy, the numbers are against him.
You don't think the league will come out and fine him for lying?
What did he lie about?
That he's very good friends of some people in high places. Well, if you need some furniture and you want to save a ton of money, it's Northeast Factory Direct, the place to go with any of the 3 locations. The same stuff, but and if not, they're nicer than you're going to find at the big expensive retail stores, and you're going to save a lot of money. Alex, what a great guy he is. He can charge the same as the big stores if he wanted, but he buys in volume and he cuts out all the expensive overhead, and he passes the savings right on to you. His rent's about 1/10 of the big furniture stores. You know what that means? That savings is going to come on to you. And Bud Shaw happy with his dealings with Northeast Factory Direct, and so am I. We'll come back in a moment. We've got Sokolowski's University Inn. That's my home on usually about 1:15 on Thursdays. Anybody's welcome to join us for lunch there. That didn't mean that I'm paying for lunch. Just say, pop in and join us, and we'll chat. Sokolowski's University Inn, To my knowledge, the only restaurant in Cleveland or Northeast Ohio that has ever won the James Beard Foundation Award. They won it about 4 years ago. Located in Tremont, 5 minutes out of downtown. Take the Abbey Avenue exit out of downtown Cleveland, and that's where you're going to find Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. Chris Fedor will join us when we get back. More Sports and Les-Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
I had an epoxy-based sand paint on my floor that deteriorated, and that's why I called Nature Stone.
Why paint? It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't last. Nature Stone is always affordable. It's beautiful, and with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of August and save up to 50%. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
But let's check out this date in sports history. August 13th, 1948. At the age of 42, Satchel Paige pitches his first complete game ever for the Cleveland Indians. It was a year after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. What do you think? What a great story that would have been if he pitched when he was 21 or so.
Yeah.
Although you never knew how old he was.
Yeah. What a great character.
Absolutely. Now it's this date in Les
Speaking
Levine
of great
history.
characters.
August 13th, 1968, while playing sandlot ball in Cleveland, Les tells the 12-year-old bat boy to ask the coach to get him the key to the batter's box.
He was a little worried about you after that, wasn't he?
The coach or the kid?
Both.
You know, I thought you were going to say, you used that last year. I said, yeah, August 13th last year I did. And a couple other
and
dates.
several other dates.
Well, you do what you got to do. As Chris Fedor knows better than anybody else. Hello, Christopher. You still mad at me for stiffing you early on in the show the other day?
No, that's okay. I forgive you. Finally. It took a little bit of time, but I finally got over it.
Do you have an endorsement deal with Clear Eyes?
Oh, you like the shirt? Clear Eyes?
Very nice.
All right, we're still looking forward. We're looking forward to seeing 100,000 people on March 6th fighting the snow to see the Indians and the Cavaliers take on LeBron James. I'm sure that the NBA had no knowledge of that, but certainly I would think the Indians can send a little note to Major League Baseball and say, hey, you might want to know this. You got LeBron James and a few other people downtown, and we may have a problem. Although the snow out won't make it matter.
We know where Fedor will be.
By the way, is there anyone more out of touch than Major League Baseball?
Ugh.
Who just dropped the schedule a couple of hours before NBA schedule release comes out? You know that it's going to get lost. You know it's going to get buried. You're not going to beat the NBA when it comes to that. It could be a really, really exciting thing, I think, for baseball fans. But just tossing it a couple of hours before the NBA has its scheduled release, and it was scheduled to be like, I don't know, 3 days in advance or something like that. I just didn't understand
I'll tell you what, I think baseball did do something good this week, and that is they did the Field of Dreams thing, which I think is a great bit for baseball, although it's only 8,000. I don't know if they could have made it more, but you got to give them credit on that one, I think.
Yeah, so one out of the last 100 decisions that they've made.
Right.
Nailing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Tyler Naquin gets 1 out of 57 things.
Hey, come on now.
How are you, first of all?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
All right. The getting ready to roll here with just a couple of months away with the Cavaliers. Anything, I mean, you look at the schedule, you got to play everybody twice or 4 times. So anything that stands out, too many long road trips, or doesn't it matter?
Yeah, so I think 3 really long road trips is a lot. I think the Cavs have 2 more back-to-backs than the average NBA team does. The NBA has done a really good job of trying to spread out the schedule and limit back-to-backs, and there are no 4 games in 5 nights and things like that, but the Cavs have more back-to-backs than any other team, I would think, in the NBA, or more than the average, at least. Let's put it that way.
We're showing some notable... go ahead.
The other thing that stands out to me, guys, is that early on, like, they went 0-6 to start the year last year, and then they fired head coach Ty Lue. Early on, the opportunity is there for the Cavs to get off to a better start, and maybe John Beilein won't have to wait as long for his first NBA win, because 4 of their first 9 are against non-playoff teams from last year.
All right, let's take a look at this list that we popped up here a moment ago, and we'll see what stands out. You got Wednesday, October 23rd, season opener against Orlando. The home openers against Indiana on the 26th. And then you've got Friday, November 8th is the ESPN game at Washington. Home game against New Orleans on January 28th. And then March 26th, as we mentioned, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. Has LeBron stated he's not going to play in that game or not?
Well, you missed one on that particular list. There is the return of Kyrie Irving for the first time of the Brooklyn Nets. But if you remember, he only came to Cleveland once as a member of the Boston Celtics. It was his first ever game as a member of the Celtics. It was opening night in 2017. After that, Kyrie decided he didn't want to come to Cleveland anymore. Brooklyn, the first game that he comes to Cleveland or is scheduled to come to Cleveland, is the second game of a back-to-back for the Nets. And the night before, they play the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden.
Excellent.
So you take a guess which game Kyrie is going to.
And now he's also not going to want to go to Boston, right?
Right.
Right. All of a sudden, Kyrie, in like 5 years or something like that, is going to have a
He's going to have a no-play list, like a no-trade list.
Chris Fedor, who covers the Cavaliers, does a great job with cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Chris, is there any hope that, I don't even know what that number would be, but is there any hope that they can be respectable? And how long will it take for John Beilein to get his style into the Cavaliers system? And a lot of it, I assume, depends on whether Kevin Love is here, Tristan Thompson, any other veterans, although there's not many other veterans to deal with.
So, guys, I think the way that I phrase it when people ask me this question is, I just don't think the Cavs are in position yet to be judged solely based on their win-loss record. So I think this season is going to be a lot like last season was, where it's trying to find out who's going to be here long-term, who are the core pieces. Last year, it was about, did Colin Sexton improve as the season went on? Did Jetty Osman get better as the season went on? So it's going to be trying to find little victories along the way, little positives that you can take about the Cavs' future along the way, because they're just not positioned well to be judged by win-loss. They're just not good enough, and there's so much new around this team. John Beilein's going to have to figure out what his style is, what works, what doesn't work. You know, in Summer League, he ran these guys ragged. He had two-a-days in Salt Lake City in the altitude, and the losing team had to do push-ups, and these guys were gassed based on those things. So I think he's going to have to figure out how long he's going to go with practices, how to use his timeouts, game situations. Look, if the Cavs win 30 games, I would be absolutely stunned. Vegas sees them as the second worst team in the NBA, and it's probably hard to argue that going into the season because of so many questions.
Talking to Chris Fedor. Chris, we popped up the projected list of depth chart, and both Bud and I looked at it and said, wait a minute, Delly's still on this team?
Yes, he's on this team as, like, mentor. I think he's probably going to get some minutes because they need that kind of feistiness. They need that toughness, that attitude, that grit. But look, I mean, this is an imbalanced roster, first and foremost. You have a bunch of bigs and you have a bunch of guards and you don't have enough wings. So eventually the Cavs are going to have to figure that out. Again, it's too early to focus too much on fit and what do we need, what don't we need, things along those lines to be competitive right now. But Delly is a big help, I think, for Darius Garland and Colin Sexton and teaching those guys how to be pros.
Yeah. I don't want to delve too much into this, but will the Cavs fans see any noticeable difference until Dan Gilbert is able to get back into the action?
Noticeable difference in terms of what?
Well, the way that the team is run, procuring other players later on, or, I mean, who's actually making that call right now?
Look, I mean, I think when you talk about day-to-day operations of just the Cavs organization as a whole beyond basketball, that's Len Komorowski. He's been around for a long, long time. He knows this organization inside and out. When it comes to the decisions made with the roster, who to sign, who to trade, stuff like that, it's a collaboration. It's Kobe Altman, it's assistant GM Mike Gansey, it's salary cap guru Brock Aller. It's all of them coming together to determine what they think is going to be best for this team moving forward. So I just don't think it's going to be anything notable when it comes to what they're missing out on. When the Cavs got together this offseason before Dan fell ill, they had a big game plan of what they wanted to accomplish. And Dan was in the loop on all of that, and he signed off on everything that they wanted to do this offseason.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Chris, you make a good point about it being too early to worry about fit. I assume that applies specifically to Garland and Sexton playing together. What do you think we'll see there from those two guys?
So I think John Beilein is just going to give those guys every opportunity to succeed or fail. And I think the big thing, Bud, is defensively it's going to be problematic. You have two guys in Colin and Darius who probably aren't physically ready for the rigors of what they're going to face on a night-in, night-end basis against some of the better guards in the NBA. And you don't have the pieces around those guys to make it so it's going to work defensively. Like, you don't have the big rim protector. You don't have the great defender on the perimeter to help those guys along. But offensively, the Cavs hope what Darius and Colin can do together, creating offense for each other, creating offense for other guys. A two-point guard system is something that John Beilein wanted since the moment he was hired by the Cavs. And I think he's going to try and figure out the best way that these guys can play off of each other. Offensively, I think it can work. Defensively, I think it's going to be a problem.
All right, Chris, we got to move along as usual. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll get you in here, and we'll do a good hour with it. Thanks so much.
Sounds good, guys. See you.
Okay, Chris Fedor, cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Live racing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Free admission, free parking every day. The Bud Light patio parties go every Friday through the month of September. You can stop by the outdoor patio every Friday from 6 to 9 and enjoy the beer specials, the outdoor grilling. Stop by and get some great prizes, including the Summer Survivors Series. The registration for that begins at $5:45. And a weekly cash prize on that contest, $250 in cold hard cash. We'll come back in a moment. Bud Shaw with us. More Sports and Les-levine continues after this timeout right here on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of August and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Oh my God, tomorrow night Bud Shaw will be here.
What does he have to say?
From well, it's anything you forgot to say tonight, you can pop in tomorrow. You'll have 2 Indians games to talk about tonight and tomorrow afternoon. Bud from WKYC.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. All right, not many emails today. Mr. Gullible is on assignment, and others didn't make the cut. You know, we have a depth chart also.
So there's only
We're
one.
only
How
only
come
one
quickie?
because of the timing issue here.
Okay,
From,
here you go.
I don't think so. I think you're going to do better than this
All
on
right.
John Patrick.
I'm willing to change.
Ready?
Yep.
How come when Pavlov walked into the bar and the phone rang, he said, "Oh, I forgot to feed the dog"? That is so stupid. Does it qualify if you say it's so stupid? The same 6.0. Anything you'd like to add that you can't wait till tomorrow to add?
Why did he have to walk into a bar?
Because that's the premise of most shows. They come in threes, and they come in bars, and they come with 3 different kinds of people. Different ethnic people, whatever.
We'll hope for a better batch next week. How's that?
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow.
Yeah. So John Patrick can go back to the drawing board on that. Indians and Red Sox tonight. Chris Sale, is that tonight or tomorrow? Chris is tonight.
Yeah.
Couldn't beat him when he was at the White Sox.
I think it's a different Chris Sale, as Lawrence Butler pointed out in that Facebook
Yeah, but what
comment.
does he know?
He knows that.
That he knows, no question about that. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to our great crew for getting it going here to Bud Shaw. You'll see him again tomorrow. D-Man Dennis Maniloff will be here on Thursday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.